Adab, everyone. Welcome to the 52nd episode of 365 Days of Tabla, a series in which we learn about the art, the craft, and the legacy of one of the most beautiful instruments in Indian classical music, tabla. Today, we're going to discuss about a beautiful concept called Gharana. It is a continuation to a previous day episode, and today we are going to discuss how Gharana is formed, what are its attributes, what is its uniqueness, and why is it important in our in today. So, before understanding Gharana, let's understand this word Gharana. Before understanding the concept of Gharana, let's understand the word Gharana. Gharana comes from the word, it can be broken into two parts, Gharana. Ghar in Hindi means home. This ghar is a word derived from the Sanskrit word griha, which means home. So, a Gharana can be termed as a home of a specific art, specific knowledge, a home of a specific tradition. So, in short, it is a home of a specific repertoire. Gharana can be termed as a home of a specific repertoire or a school of a specific repertoire. Let's simplify it. A Gharana can be termed as a home or a school of a specific thought. So, how is a Gharana formed? And why is Gharana different from a tradition? Well, Gharana is not that different from a tradition. As a matter of fact, it is basically a broader concept. It is not that different from a tradition. Just like tradition, like what we had understood about tradition is that it is started by one revolutionist, and the teaching of that revolutionist is continued through ages, and that's how a tradition is found. Gharana also thrives on that concept. The principle of Gharana is also very much similar to that, but there is one single distinctive difference in Gharana. The artistic individuality of the pupil or the generation is always appreciated. And that is why stemming out from a certain Gharana is possible. Like, for example, the revolutionary work of an individual is passed through generations. But it may happen that one of his successor has a different approach towards music. And I'm talking about music right now. Let's say this conversation is completely based on music. So let's say Ustad Ji was a revolutionary musician. He started his Gharana. He started his teaching. And through generations, his teachings became his pupils followed that teachings, and through generations, that teaching became a school of thought or another, and that continued. But then another individual from that certain school of thought only came in and thought he had an individual approach towards the concept, towards the concept. He had a different approach towards the concept. He introduced that, people appreciated it, and he was able to create a new concept, a new tradition. And those who followed his tradition followed his Gharana over the ages of time. So this is how he stemmed out of one particular tradition. Because of his individual identity, he was able to stem out of this tradition. And this is the broader aspect of Gharana. And this is how uh, a Gharana differentiates from a tradition. A tradition is something like, for example, Durga Puja tradition. It is followed in the same method that has been created, that was created by the person who formulated it. So that tradition is always there. So it is being continued. But Gharana is very different. Say, a person, a singer from Gwalior, he started singing. He was a revolutionist. People started following the methods through which he used to teach. He used to sing. And through ages, this method became a school of thought, his school of thought. So, and then the province in which he used to teach, that became the name of his school of thought. Let's say, since he was teaching from Gwalior, so the province through which he was teaching, that became his school of thought, like the Gwalior school of thought. Now, one person, he came up, he understood the teaching, and he found a different aspect or a different route of approaching the concept, the end concept. He found a different route of approaching the concept. So he shifted, and then people of Gwalior did accept him, did appreciate it, but then he saw that this tradition is already there. It's better that I look for a favorable place where my art can thrive, because art needs patronage. But if you're an artist, you would understand that art in any sphere of time, it always required patronage. It always required audience. It always required patronage. It always required, in order to thrive, it always required patronage. So this person moves out from certain section. Let's say, I'm talking about Gwalior right now. This is a pseudo name. Let's say Gwalior had this tradition. He said that this art form of mine requires patronage, because in order to thrive, I need to eat, and if I need to eat, I have to earn. And if I want to continue this tradition, this method, my method, I have to be accepted somewhere else. If I'm not being accepted over here, let's move out. Let's move out to some other place, some other place. So I can move out to, let's say I moved out to Agra. And over there, I got the patronage, I got the acceptance. Over there, I got the patronage, got the acceptance. People stopped accepting me, and I was able to thrive. And that's how I was able to establish my school of thought over there. And with generations, that school of thought was established. And that is how stemming out was possible. So the individual artistry or the individual style is appreciated, and it thrives on, like all other art forms. Patronage is a very important aspect of an art to thrive. And the province, let's say this person moves out from uh, Gwalior to Agra, and he got the favorable acceptance in Agra, and his thought thrived in Agra. So, with generations following this thought, this transformed into a gharana on its own, and it's his thought or a school of thought on his own, and his this thought got the name of the province on which he was which on which his thought was had thrived, and the name, hence the name of Apara Gharana came into existence. So this is how a gharana is formed, and it's uh, it expands. Now, there's one more important concept. Now we have understood the expansion of gharana. This is how it expands. So this is completely understood. But then what does the torchbearer? What does the torchbearer or the successor? What is the role of a torchbearer or successor in gharana? A lot of musicians have actually said this in their interviews, including Ustad Amjan Dayarji, that in order for a gharana to continue, it has to be followed through generations and generations of his successors. As in, like, if I have taught something and my son also follows that teaching with his little tweaks, that he's following that teaching, that is the passing of one knowledge to another, from passing of knowledge from one generation to another generation. And if it continues for 4 generations, it becomes a gharana. While my pupil, students, or my followers can expand my gharana, but the growth of the gharana completely and directly depends upon my successor. So, like my pupils, my students, my followers, those who like my teachings or those who like my style, they can expand it. They can expand it to different places. But my teachings or my essence will be followed, will be the growth of my gharana will only be done through my successes. And that successor of mine becomes, after 4 generations, that successor of mine becomes a Khalifa, or the torchbearer of a particular clan. This is the same concept that is there in a royal lineage. King, king, his son becomes the prince, and after the demise of the king, his son becomes the king, and after the demise of that king, his son, who is the prince, becomes the king. So this is how it continues. A lineage continues. The work of the king is spread by his pupil, those who follow him. That is there. But the lineage or the lineage is completely based on the bloodline. And that is why stalwarts such as Ustad Ramajan Tharpada ji, Ustad Maseed Khan Saab, and so on, they had said extensively that a gharana, I'm going to recite this in Hindi, I'm going to translate it after the recited, after I recited, but quote unquote, what they had said is that शादी तो उसे घराना फैल सकता है, बढ़ नहीं सकता.